Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be learning React Router DOM version 6 by building out this simple products application. So if you click on more details, it's going to take you to a bigger image of this with a bigger title and a description, and then when you click on back, obviously it's going to take you back to the home page, and notice how it snaps back to the top, right? It snaps back to the top. So we're also going to implement that using scroll restoration in React Router DOM. And then when you click on add to cart, then it pops up your cart to the side, and of course it's nothing fancy, it just displays all the products inside here. And I've not created the function for this, I've left that up to you who is going to be watching this video. So you click on close, it's going to close this out. Okay, so before we begin, I just want to mention that we are going to be using this repository. It's called products page YT, so YouTube. And you can go ahead and can close this, and then we can go ahead and begin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this link right here, and then I'm going to open up my command prompt, make it just a bit smaller like so, and then I'm going to cd into my desktop. You know what, I should probably make it a bit bigger for the recording. And then in my desktop I'm going to say git clone, and then I'm going to paste this link, and then it's going to clone it into this folder. So once it finishes cloning this, then I'm just going to say cd into products page YT. Okay, so once I cd into this folder, then I just want to say code dot, which will open up VS Code in this folder. And then as VS Code is opening up, then what I want to do is I want to install all the dependencies which are available in my package.json. And my package.json is this. So I have React Router DOM inside here, and then I have Tailwind CSS and Auto Prefixer and Post CSS as dev dependencies, and you can install this from the Tailwind CSS installation guides from the framework guides. Okay, I just did it so that it becomes easier and we don't have to keep on jumping through pages. So let me go ahead and say npm install, and then we can take a look at the folder structure as this installs. So now I can make it smaller, and let's go ahead and in the source folder we have an app.js. So I did a bit of cleanup, and the app.js just renders a section that has products app as the title, and then we have a db.json file which is basically our API. So the API is called products. It has the ID, the name, the description, the small, and the small, this refers to the smaller image, and then large is obviously the larger image, and so on and so forth. And it is a total of 5 products that we have in our db.json. In our index.css, I have imported Tailwind here, and then I have also imported a font called Inter right here, and that is set to the font family of the body by default, with the WebKit font smoothing set to anti-aliased. And then in index.js, we have nothing fancy. I just removed the report web vitals at the bottom as well as the import at the top. Okay, so once we have that, I think we are ready to begin. So I'm just going to let this finish running, and then we can begin. Okay, so once this is done, then I'm just going to say npm run start, which is going to open up our dev server on localhost 3000. Okay, so as expected, it only renders products up as the title. So we can go ahead and let's begin building this out. And remember, once again, I have already installed all the dependencies. Okay, if you want to learn how to install them, then I'm going to leave a link in the description for Tailwind CSS. And if you want to install React Router DOM, then all you have to say is npm install React Router DOM, or yarn add React Router DOM. I guess that is the command if you're using yarn. So the first thing that I'm going to do is inside my source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called components. And inside components, I'm going to create a new file called fetch products.js, like so. Okay, so inside fetch products, obviously we want to get all our products data and then display it on the screen right inside here, right? So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to say import use state from React, and then I'm also going to import data from our db.json, so /db.json, like so. And then I'm going to say export default function fetch products, like so. And then in the return, then I'm going to just return a section for now, and the section is going to have an h1 that says all products. Okay, and there's a reason for this. I just want to set up React Router DOM first before we do all this. So I'm going to go inside my app.js, And then inside app.js, I'm going to import fetch products at the top. So import fetch products like so. And then inside this section, now we want to set up React DOM. So instead of rendering a section, then I want to render my fetch products, right? Okay, so let's go ahead, and at the top, we're going to start importing the components from React DOM. So I'm going to say import browser router. Okay, it's a named import, by the way, that's why you have it in curly brackets. And then we're also going to import another component called routes, and then another one called route. Okay, so routes and route, they're two different components, they do two different functions. Now obviously our entire application is going to be wrapped inside the browser router. That hasn't changed from React DOM version 5. And then now, oops, this hasn't changed at the bottom, so browser router. So this, let's remove this. Okay, and then once we have this, then our entire application is going to be wrapped inside the routes component. Okay, so the routes, which is like the parent for the route, which is the single route, right? And then we're going to have a route component here. The path for this is going to be /, right? And now the thing that has changed from React DOM version 5 to 6 is that now we no longer have the component rendering inside here. Instead, we're going to pass it in kind of like a prop, where we're going to say the element that we want to be rendered is called fetch products. Okay, and then we're going to remove this from here. So this is how the route is going to look for our /fetch products. So let's go ahead and test this out. So I'm going to save this, and we should still see this on the screen, right? We should see all products on the screen. Sorry, as you can see, it has changed. Now, if you want this to go to a different path, for example, we can say /products, right? Products like so, then nothing renders here, okay? And that is very interesting. I'm going to explain why. But if you're going to /products, then we should have all products, okay? So whatever you have inside here is going to be the URL that is shown inside here. So be very careful about that as well. Now, what I was saying about this being interesting is that notice that when we're on the /, then this renders. But when we're not on the /, then it doesn't render. That's because version 6 has introduced automatic, like, what should I call it, like link detection, where the problem with version 5 was that if you had multiple links, right? So for example, if this was to go into products, and then this was to go into /cart, if you had something like this, then what would happen is that all of these elements, or all of these components, sorry, would render at the same time on the same page once you're on the /. Okay, but because we are now on version 6, they have introduced automatic error handling, where the component that is rendered on the screen is going to be dependent on the path that matches exactly. Okay, so this is very, very important, and it is very, very nice. As you can see, I'm on the /s path, and nothing renders because there's no link that matches inside here. Okay, so I'm going to remove this, and then I'm going to create another route here. The path for this is going to be a wildcard, so *, and then the element for this is going to be our error page, like so. So let's go ahead and create error.js. Let's go ahead and create the error.js. So inside, let me just go inside the components. Let's go error.js like so. Let me say RFC, and then inside here we're going to render a section. The section is going to have a class of flex and flex-column, and we're going to say items-center. I'm using emmet, that's why I can do this. And then we're going to say justify-center and text-center, and then it's going to have an h1 that says it says error. Is this actually going to work? Okay, there we go. As you can see, this is what emmet is going to show. So error 404, and then we're going to place this inside a span, and then this span is going to say the page you are looking for does not exist. Okay, so let me see that. There we go. And you can do that because of emmet, by the way. If emmet comes pre-installed with VS Code, but if you're using another text editor, I'm not sure about them, I think you'd have to install them manually. Okay, so below this we're going to have a link, and this is obviously the link tag to the /. So back to the home page, and then I'm going to render a ampersand and LARR, so left arrow, that says back to custom page like so, and this is going to have a custom class name probably, or I don't think it's going to have a custom class name. Let me just style it out manually. So it's going to say btn, it's going to say bg-white, and let's say text-slate-900, and let's say padding y of 2, padding x of 10. Let's say this should be a block element. Rather, let me not make this a block element. Let me make the h1. Let me add the margin of the h1. So class name margin bottom 5, which will push this downwards, and now let me say margin bottom of 10. That's much better. And then on hover, so when I hover over this, I want it, oh, you know what, let me make this bg 800, and then when I hover over this, I want the bg to be slate-900 with a transition dash all and a duration of dash 150 like so. And let's save this, and hopefully this is going to work. Let me remember to import error right here. So error, and link is not defined, of course, because we need to import it at the top. So import link from react.dom, and we should see this. Would you look at this? Okay, looking fantastic. And why is it this oh, it's not flex column, it's flex col, sorry, that's the class. There we go. And then I want this to come all the way to the center, so we can add a fixed height of this of each screen, which is 100 viewport heights, and we should have this. Okay, the reason why I have the button as a white background is because this background is going to be a dark background. So let's go ahead and do that. So in the index.css, I just want to say at apply, which is a Tailwind utility. So I'm going to say at apply bg-slate-900, and we should see this. Okay, and then I've just realized that this is kind of an error. You won't be able to see this when you hover over it. So this should not be bg-slate. Where is the error page? This should be bg, oops, can't see. This should be bg-gray-100. Yeah, a very slight hover effect, but it works. And then let's change this up now. So let me add a space here. Let me add a this line thingy. So error 44, and you know what, I don't want it here actually, I want it here like so. And then on the h1, let's say text-4xl and text-white, and then on the span, let's say class name of text-base and text-slate-200. Okay, so we're going to have that. That's looking okay. Let me say inside here, let me say font-bold, font-bold, and you know what, this is too big. Let me say XL like so. And then inside here, let's say font light, so font light. And there we go. So this is going to be our error page, not too shabby. So let's go back to the home page, and then we can begin working on the fetch products now. So inside here, we're going to set up our state values. So now I'm going to say const items is equal to use state, and we want to pass in the data. And the reason I'm only saying items is because we're not going to be using the set items function, so there's no need to add it in. Okay, and then inside here now, instead of saying all products, I'm going to say items.products.map. okay, I have to say dot products because items technically, let me show you, items technically is this, okay, which is an object, and you can't map over an object. So we need to go into the products, which is now an array of objects, and then we can map over it. Okay, so that's why I have items.products.map. And then I want to destructure immediately by getting the ID, what was it? ID name description small large. So ID name description small and large. Like so. Okay. Really? Okay, right there. And then once you have that, then I want to render an article, okay, with the key of ID, like so. And then inside this key of ID, I want to have, inside the article, I want to have a div, and this div is going to have an image. First of all, the image is going to be coming from small, and you know what, I'm actually doing this wrong. I actually want this to be a picture tag, okay? So picture tag like that, and it's going to have a source media like so, for a min width of 768 pixels, right? The source set, remember to change this to comment case. So the source set for this is going to be large, and then below this now we can have our image tag, and the source for this is going to be small. And then the alt attribute for this is the name, so in case the image fails to load, then just display the name of the product. So what this means is that this is kind of adding responsiveness inside HTML without really toggling it in your CSS. Okay, so what this means basically is that by default this is going to be the smaller image. This is going to be the image that shows on the UI of the user. But once the device of the user exceeds 768 pixels, then the larger image is going to show. Okay, so it just removes a lot of overhead in terms of styling and rendering, adding responsiveness using CSS. Okay, so once we are outside of this div, I want to create another div, and inside here we're going to have an h2 that says the name of the product, and then a paragraph that says the description of the product, and then below this we're going to have two list items, so ul into li by 2, and these are going to be links to some pages. The first one is going to say more details, and then the second one is going to say add to cart. And actually, sorry, the second one is not a link, the second one is a button. Okay, so button, like so. And then this is going to say link to / a link that we're going to create inside here, which is going to be very interesting, but for now we can just go into the /. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's save this, and let's see what on the screen, and say link is not defined. I always forget that, so sorry for that. So always import it at the top, and we should see this. Look at that. So we have all our items. Now we can just begin styling it out. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go inside this section, and I want to add padding on the left and right, so actually everywhere. So padding on the left and right, top and bottom of 5. And then I want to say that for medium screens, let me say for large screens, actually, you know what, let me say padding X of 5 and padding Y of 10, and then for large screens padding Y of 20. And then for extra large screens, I want to have a limit to the max width. So max width, I'm going to say 6XL. And then for XL screens, I just want to say MX Auto, which is going to center everything, like so, as you can see, very nice. And then let's begin styling this out. So for the H1 inside here, sorry, for the H2, I'm going to give this a class name of font-bold and text-4XL, margin bottom 5, and text-white. That's how this looks. So we have that looking fantastic. And then inside this paragraph, let's give this a class name of text-slate-200. Let me see how 300 looks. Okay, 300, I think 300 is much better. And then inside this UL, let's give this a class name of flex and item center and justify center. Oh, sorry, justify between, so that they go end to end, like so. And then let's tag this button, the first link, sorry. So this is going to have a class name of border-2 and border-white, padding-2, padding on the Y of 2, padding on the X of 4. And then let's say text-white. Okay, so that we're going to have this, and then let's tally this other button. So this button is going to have a class name of bg white, text-slate-800. Yeah, let's do 800, padding on the Y of 2, padding on the X of 4. And is there anything else? Let's see. And we have this add to cart looking fantastic. Okay, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to add a padding on the bottom of this paragraph so that it pushes away from this button. So inside here, I'm just going to say margin bottom, sorry, not padding bottom, margin bottom of 10, like so. And then yeah, that's looking almost done. But before it's done, we just want to display the image on the left and the text on the right. So let's go back inside this article and give this a class name of grid, and grid-calls-1 with a gap of 5, first of all, for mobile screens. Okay, actually, did I do that correctly? Gap of 5 added this gap on top, right? Okay, so let's say that for MD screens, then the grid columns should be 2. So grid calls 2. Let's see what happens. And we're going to have that, and then I just want this to move to the center. So I'm going to say for MD screens, let's say plus items center. Is that the class? I keep on forgetting sometimes. Okay, there we go. So place item center moves it to the center. And then I want to say that for large screens, then the gap should increase to 10. Increase this gap. And then I say for XL screens, then the gap should be 20. Make it even bigger. There we go. Okay. And then now I want to go inside this parent element, which is our section, right? And then I want this section to be a grid as well, so that we can add the gaps between these cards. So let's go inside this, and we can say grid, and grid calls -1. Obviously they're going to be 1 with a gap of 5, and this is going to happen. Look at that. And then we can say for large screens, then the gap should be 10. Make it just a bit bigger. There we go. And probably we can say that for XL screens, the gap should be 20. Don't mind doing that, so that this is kind of symmetrical. So it's 20 here and 20 here. So it's a bit symmetrical, looking fantastic. Okay. Now the next thing that I want to do is I don't want all of this text to show up here, right? I only want a bit of it to show up. That would be the validation for clicking this more details link. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. We can go inside here. Okay. So now instead of just rendering the description, I'm going to render template literals first, and then my $sign and my curly brackets. Okay. So this is just basically adding variables inside strings. So I'm going to say inside here, I want to say description dot substring, and substring basically takes a number of items beginning from 0 to whatever number that you're going to choose. And in this case, I'm going to choose 200, and then ... So outside of this, is it 3 dots? Why can't I say this? Let me zoom out a bit. ... There we go. So what this basically means is that it's going to take the number of characters from the first character, which is 0, to the 200th character, and then it's going to display them, and then the rest of the string past 200 characters is just going to say ... Okay, and let me say this and you will see what happens. And there we go. Look at this, looking fantastic. Okay, and then now the next thing that we need to do is we need to create the link for this more details card. Okay, for this more details button. So let's go ahead, and that would mean that we need to create a component called single product. Okay, so single product.js, and then let's just do RFC. For now, we can just have single product like that. There's no problem. Okay, so let's create this route for our single products page. So the route for this, the path is going to go into / name, which is the name of the product, and the element that we want to render is going to be the single product, like so. And remember to close it out and import it at the top. So this for the full column name is basically going to be the slug that we have in our URL bar on the browser. Okay, so if you wanted this to go into, for example, let me see what we have. So you can choose the ID or the name or the description or the small or the large, but I don't recommend doing that because these are just too what's the word, ambiguous, conspicuous. No, that's not the word. Too large for nothing. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Not in so many words, but yeah, you get the point. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's save this, and then now we need to go into fetch products, and then where we have our link. Now this is no longer going to link into /. Instead, we're going to have our brackets. So we're going to have our template literals, and then this is going to go into /$, and we're going to be accessing the name, which we get from here when we destructure it. Okay, looking fantastic. So let me save this and let's see whether this is going to work. So by just hovering over it, you can see on the bottom left that the link changes, right? So I'm going to go and try and click this, and hopefully we're going to see single product right around here. Okay, so click on this, and you can see single product here. Okay, and you can see that the URL inside here has also changed into Air Jordans. And now if I click on this, then the URL also changes. Fantastic, and we can still see single product. Now the next thing that we do need to do, now that we've confirmed that this is working, is that we need to go ahead and we need to get the item that the URL is referring to. Okay, that's easy enough to do. So let's go ahead and go into our single products page. Okay, so let's begin building this out. The first thing that we do need to do is we need to import use state. use state and use effect from React. We're going to be needing those two hooks, sorry, not links. And then I'm going to set up my state values, right? So I'm going to call this single product and set single product. This is going to be equal to use state, and by default is going to be an empty array. Okay, looking fantastic. And then I should probably import my data. So import data from db.json, db.json, like so. And we need to get this name that we have inside. Remember, this is the / name, right? We need to get this name from the URL, right? So let's go ahead and we're going to import a hook from React Router DOM called use params. Okay, so we need to actually import the link and then use params, and these are coming from React Router DOM, like so. So this hook comes from React Router DOM. It is not in React. Okay, remember that sometimes I get mixed up in the imports. Okay, and then what we can do is now we can destructure the name, which is coming from the use params, like so. And use params is going to access this right inside here, and then it's going to get the name that we have set it inside here. Okay, so that's quite interesting. Okay, and what you can do actually, if you want to test whether this is working, is you can just render the name inside here, and then probably let me change this text to text dash 4xl, let's say text white. And once I save this, then you should see Air Jordans right inside here, and you can go to another page and you can see it's going to change as well. So that basically means that this is working correctly. So what we do need to do though is, because we are getting this data locally, then you need to create a function that is going to check for the product that we have clicked on, and we can do that inside the use effect. So we're going to set up our use effect like so. Okay, we're going to have a callback dependency array. Sorry, we're going to have a dependency array, which is going to be the name basically inside here, which basically means that whatever function that we're going to write inside here should run every single time that the name changes. And by the name changing, that basically means that we are going into a different link with a different product. So we therefore want this function inside here to run. So let's go ahead and create this function. So I'm going to create the function called find product, because we are finding a single product, right? Like so, make it an arrow function because they're cool. And then we're going to say const new product equals to data.products dot find. I was thinking of filter. Okay, so we want to find the product dot name, which is equal to the name of the current URL that we're on. Okay, and then once we do this, we're going to say set single product into new product, like so. And then just to be on the safe side, let me say, I could have added a console log, but let me not do that. So let me say find product. So basically call our function that we've just created. Okay, so hopefully this is going to work. I really do hope it works. Okay, I really do hope it works. So now instead of this rendering this, I want to render an empty fragment, and then we can remove this from here. And then instead of this rendering the name, we need to do a few things. So I'm going to render a section with a class of on XL screens, I want the max dash width to be 6XL, and then on XL screens, then let's say MX auto to send everything. And then we're going to have an H1 that says the name, like so. And then below this, we want to have an image, right? And this image is going to be coming from the single product from here, right? Once we get the product that we want, then we get the single product, then we can map over it. I hope the map is going to work. Actually, is that correct? I don't think that is correct. Will that work really? Let me see what happens when I hover over this. Declared but never used. Okay, you know what? Let me just have the let's say let me add a console log. So let's console log single product. Sorry, let's console log new product. Let's see what we have on the screen. Okay, product is not defined. Wait, was product 1145 line 11. Products defined. Oops, this should say products.find for every product, like so, and then this, oops, not without the full stop. So this is the correct one. Okay, sorry about that. And we should see Bose headphones here. So let me open up our DevTools. Let's see what we have in the console. So we have an object that says description, ID2, large, and name and small. Okay, so let me try something. Okay, so inside here, let me have the image saying single product dot large. What happens then? Okay, so we have single product dot large. Okay, and then below this, let me try reloading. Sometimes it breaks. Okay, so everything seems to be running correctly. And then below this, so I no longer want the H1 to be above, I want it to be below the image. And then below this, we're going to have the single paragraph that says single product dot description. And then below this, we're going to have a UL with 2 list items. Okay, the first one is going to be a link that goes back to the home page. So link to / that says back, come on. And then this is going to be rendering a left arrow, so ampersand LARR, like so. And you know what, I want this to be the second one. And then the first one is going to say add to cart, and I just want to copy these links because this is going to be a button. Actually make it a button, and then let's say fetch products, and let me copy these class names, copy this and paste it inside here. Okay, so give this a class name of flex and items dash center, and then let's go inside this first list item, give this a class name of margin on the right of 5, and we should see this. Would you look at that, looking amazing. So now that this is working, I can place it full screen, and we should see something similar to this. That's looking okay. That's looking okay. So let me go inside this link, give this a class name of text dash slate dash 200, and then when you hover over it, I want the text to change to white. So very slight, I don't know whether you can see it, but it's smooth. And then let's go inside this UL, let's say margin top of 5, let's say margin top of 10, let's add some more space, right? And then let's go inside this section, let's say padding on the Y of 10, and for large screens, padding on the Y of 20. So we can have a bit of padding on the top and padding on the bottom. And then let's style this H1. So the H1 here is going to say, give this a class name of text dash for XL. For small screens, let's say margin bottom of 5. Actually, now let's say margin Y of 5, and then for large screens, then margin bottom of 10. Let's say text dash white and font dash bold. And then let's say that for medium screens, the text should be 5XL. For large screens, the text should be 6XL. Make it big for nothing because it looks cooler. And then let's grab this paragraph, and then let's change its color. So class name text dash slate dash 300, and there we go. Would you look at that? So we have our single products page working for correctly. Let's go back, let's go into another one. Okay, into another one. Oops, that's the same one. This one, correct, and this one. Look at that, looking fantastic. Okay, so the next thing that we do need to do is notice how I want that when you click on the back button, it snaps me back to the top. Probably you don't want to do that, but I think it would be nice to know how you do that, right? So let's go ahead, and we're going to create another component called scroll to top.js. Inside here, we're going to say import use, do we need use state? Let's say use effect from React, and then let's say export default function scroll to top. Okay, and then inside here we're going to have our use effect, and the use effect is going to say window dot scroll to 0, 0,0, which basically means take it back to this point of the document, so 0, 0, so left of 0 and top of 0. Now this is going to have a dependency array called path name, and path name comes from a React hook called a React router DOM hook called use location. So let's import use location from React router DOM, like so, and then we can destructure the path name because the path name is what we have in the URL address bar. So destructure the path name like this, and this is going to say use location. Okay, so once you have this, then we just want to say return null, and we should save this, and then we can go into our app.js, and then I want this to render above everything else. So it's going to be a component for the whole document. So import it here and then render it above the routes, and it should work correctly. So let's test it out. Okay, just reload it to be on the safe side. So I'm going to go inside here, and then when I click on back, then it takes me back to the top. Okay, fantastic. Now, if you don't want to do this, then of course you can just disable this. It doesn't really matter. It all depends on the on how you want your app to behave. Okay, so once you have that, then we want to create our add to cart. We want to add the functionality for our add to cart button, right? So in order to do that, then we're going to create a component called cart.js. Okay, and then let's just say RFC like so, and then this is going to be an empty fragment that says inside here we're going to have an aside tag like so, and then inside this aside tag let's have an issue that says your cart, and then below this we're just going to render our products like we did in the fetch products. Okay, we're going to do basically this same destructuring. Not everything, we're only going to get the ID, the name, and the small image. Okay, so we need to import this, and we need this as well. So inside cart.js, let's say import use state from here, use state, and then this is going to say we're also going to import data from db.json. Okay, and then we're going to have const items equals to use state, and inside here we're going to pass in our data. And by the way, I should mention that I'm doing something here on purpose, okay, and I'm going to explain what it is when we get to it, and then I'm going to also give you the solution to it. So inside here, let's say items.map, and then we want to get the ID, the name of the item, and we want to get the small image like so, and then let's render an article with the key of ID, and then this is going to have an h3 that says the name. Okay, is that correct? Actually, let's have the image first of all, the image that says small, the alt attribute in case the image fails to load, then we just want to render the name of the item. I think this should be correct. It should be correct. Let's try it out by going into the fetch products, and then let's have it where should it be? Let me place it outside the section. So we want to render our cart component, so cart like so, which imports it at the top. There we go. So let's save this, and then we should go to the bottom and we should see it, but something is wrong because of this. Is it? Let me remove this, and we should see your cart right here. Okay, so it means items.map is wrong because this should be items.products.map. There we go, and then we should see items. There we go. So that is working correctly. So inside here, let me give this h2 a class name of text-slate-800 and font-bold and text-2xl and uppercase and margin bottom of 5. And then inside this aside, let me give this aside a class name of padding around of 5. And I've just remembered that if we go into this more detailed section and we go into the mobile version, it doesn't have a padding on the left and right. So let's go ahead and add that before I forget. So inside this section, let's just say padding 5 around. There we go. Okay, fantastic. Items about, oh, this is the error that we just had that we just fixed. Okay, so where were we? We were here adding our cart. Okay, fantastic. Now what I want to do is, let me close this and close this and this and this as well. So for the cart, I want this cart to have a white background first of all, so we're going to have that, and then I want it positioned fixed to the top right. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's say fixed, which is obviously going to remove it away from the page, as you can see, right? And then let's say take it to the right by 0, and to the top, sorry, not to the left, by 0. And then let's say h full, which is height 100%. Is it h full or h screen? I forget. Okay, so as you can see, we have this that's looking okay. And then probably if you have many items that overflow, then you want to also handle the overflow, but ours are not going to be overflowing, so there's no need to do that. And then once you have this, then what I want is this h2 to be inside a div, like so that I can add a button here that says close. Okay, and then once I have that button that says close, I can say give this a class name of flex and item center and justify between. So close should be here. There we go. And the reason why this is kind of to the bottom is because this has a margin bottom of 5. Where is it? Here, margin bottom of 5. So now they're on the same level, and then now we can add the margin bottom of 5 on this div. There we go. And then I want this button to be styled a bit differently. So class name is going to be border bottom -2 and then border -transparent. Okay, and then when we hover over this, then I want the border to be -slate-800. So look at that, that's looking nice, right? And then let's add a transition -all with a duration of 150, just so that it kind of slides in, you know. It's the little animation that, you know, that are really nice. Okay, and then let's go ahead and grab these images. So this image is going to have a class name of width-20 and height-20 with a rounded -full with a margin right of 2. Okay, so we have that. That's looking fantastic. Okay, and the next thing that I do want to do actually before I forget is I want this to always be on top no matter what happens. So inside here, I'm going to have a z index of 50, just to make sure that it's always going to be on top of everything else on the every other element on the web page. Okay, and then let's make this into a fixed height. So let me say that the first width for this is going to be 11/12 for mobile screens. For small screens, it's going to be width -9/12. And then for medium screens, the width is going to be 7/12. And then for large screens, the width, actually, can that remain actually by that? This is too big. So for large screens, the width is going to be 5/12. Okay, this involved a lot of me doing trial and error. That's why I have these figures in mind. And actually, I don't know whether they all work, but you know, they work for now, so that's looking okay. And then, you know what, let me reduce the width and the height of these images. So let me say width -12. Just making them a bit smaller. And then what I want to do is inside this article, I want to give this a class name of flex, that this goes to the side right here. Okay, and then items-center, so that the text comes downwards like so. And then let's go inside. Let me grab all of this and place it inside a div like so, so that I can go inside this div and give this a class name of grid and grid columns -1 with a gap of 5 to push each of these items away from one another like so. And then once we have that, then I want to add a button. Where should I add this button? I want to add this button here, and this button is going to say remove item, but I've realized a problem. Okay, and that is basically the problem. You see this? I could add justify between here, but I don't want to do that because this text is then going to go into the center. I don't want to do that. Okay, so the solution for this is I'm going to grab all of this, place it inside the div, and then this can remain as it is basically, and this is what is going to happen, which is once again not what I want to happen, right? So flex item center, and then now we can add justify between here, and the button is going to go to the end. There we go. And then now these classes here, where is it? Now these classes here are going to go inside this div. So class name and this name inside here. So we're going to have this looking amazing. And then obviously these buttons are going to be red in color. So give this a class name of bgred-500. When you hover over it, I want bgred-600. Let's say transition-all and duration-150. Let's say padding y of 1 and padding x of 2. Let's say text-small and text-right. Okay, so there we go. There we go. And probably you can add this into an icon instead of having this text. Okay, you know, let me say, instead of saying remove item, let's say delete. Yeah, I think that would be much better. And then below this, I want to have a button here that says clear cut. So below this, so outside of this, let's have a button here that says clear cut, like so. Let's give this button a class name of bg slate-900. Let's say padding y of 2, padding x of 10, let's say margin top of 10, let's say text dash white, let's say is that correct? Let's see how this looks. Okay, yeah. So instead of this being 900, let me make it 800, so that when I hover over it, then I can say bg 900. So when I hover, I can say bg slate-900, and then transition dash all once again, and duration dash 150. So let's see this. Look at this, looking fantastic. Now once again, I'm not going to create the function for this. I'm going to leave this up to you, and I'm not going to create the function for the delete items as well. I'm going to leave that up to you. Okay, fantastic. So we can have this, and then now we just need to handle our close, our display basically. So whether our cut is opened or closed. Now the thing that comes to mind actually when you just think about this is to just have to go into the fetch products, right? And then to have a state value here. So const, let's say cut, let's say is open. Should I call it is open or what? So is open and set is open is going to be use state, and by default it's going to be false because we don't want our cut to be open by default. And then now we can place a conditional here where we can say only when cut, only when is open is true, that's when we want to render our cut. Okay, and then this should disappear. There we go. And then now we want to place this conditional to be toggled every time that we click on this button. So that would mean that we just go inside this button, and we can say that on click we want to place in our inline function and say set is open to true. Okay, now when you click on this, then our cut opens, and then now we want that when you click on this, then our cut closes, obviously. So let's go and say set, we're going to pass in a prop called set is open, which is going to be equal to the set is open function. Okay, so this is the name of the prop, and you can call this whatever you want. Okay, it doesn't have to be the same as this, but the naming convention requires that it should be okay, not requires really. The naming convention is that it should be the same as the prop that you want to get, just so that when you look at this code maybe in 6 months or someone else takes a look at it, then it becomes easy for them to understand. So once we have this, then we can go into our cut, of course save it, and we can destructure it inside here. So destructure set is open, and then we can go into this close button, and you can see that when you click on this, so on click we want to place in our inline function, and you can say set is open to false. Okay, so let's test this out. So close it out, opens and close it. Okay, now one problem though, okay, and this is the problem that I mentioned earlier. If we go into more details, right, we also want that when you click on this button, then the cut should also open up. Okay, now remember that this button is inside the single products page. Okay, which is okay, I've opened it. Come on, seriously. Okay, so we want that when you click on this button, then it also triggers the cut opening animation, right? Now how would we do that though? Okay, now a solution for that would be, instead of having this inside here, then you would have it inside app.js, so somewhere inside here, and then you would pass down the state values as props into the fetch products, which requires it, as well as the single products, which requires it. Okay, so what I mean is this. Let's just go ahead and do it. So I would go inside fetch products, I would grab this from here, cut it out, and then I would paste it inside here, right? So now this is accessible from the parent app component, right? And then now I can pass them down as props inside here. So because I know that the fetch products component requires these two, then I can just say is open prop is going to be equal to the is open state value, and set is open function is going to be equal to the set is open the set is open prop is going to be equal to the set is open state function. Now when I save this though, okay, I can go inside the fetch products, and then I can destructure is open, which we are not really going to use, and set is open, like so, right? and then now this should still work. Where is it? This should still work. So let's save this and then let's try it out. Okay, use state is not defined, sorry about that, I always forget to import it. So import use state, let's go inside above this, import use state, oops, from React. Okay, now look at this, let's just reload this. Okay, now I can go back inside here, and when I click add to cart, then it still opens, and when I click on close, it still opens, right? Now I can go into the more details, and I can do the very same thing. Okay, so I can just copy this from here, and then I want to pass them inside the single product. Okay, and then now I can go into single product, which I know requires this, and I can say that on click I want to pass in my inline function, and I can say set is open to true to open the cart. And then of course I need to grab this, I need to destructure the props inside here, so set is open, like so. So once I save that, and we can reload this to be on the safe side, and then when I click on this, oops, when I click on this, it doesn't work. Did I do that correctly? So set is open, let's see, set is open, set is open to true, set is open to true. Oh, you know what, it's not wrong, because I've just realized why this is not working. It's because the cart is not being rendered on this page. Okay, so we need to go into set single product, and then let's go outside of this section, and then let's just render our cart once again. Sorry for that. So let's just render our cart, and then we can place it inside a conditional, actually, where we can say only when is open is true, then we want to render our cart, and then we need to get this prop as well from here, so is open, like so, and set is open. Okay, now look at that. So we can close it. What's happening? So why isn't this working actually? You know, let's take a look at this, and it says set is open is not a, oh, you know what? We need to add the props inside here. So set is open, prop is equal to set is open function. Is this correct? Why isn't this changing color? Let's try it out. Let's try it out once again. So let's close this, and you can say close. Okay, there we go. So we can open it and we can close it. Fantastic. Now probably what you would want to do is, you know, probably change this into a toggle, right? So when you click on this, either way, then it's going to open or close the cart. And then once the cart is open, then you can say close cart, and then once it is closed, then you can say add to cart. You can add those little bits of functionality inside if you want, but I don't want to do that. Okay, now I've showed you one solution, which is to have these state values inside the parent element, right? And this works. Okay, this works. But when your application begins getting bigger and you have more and more state values, then it begins to become a bit cumbersome. So the next solution that I want to show you is by using the context API. So I'm going to close all of this down, and then inside the source folder, I'm going to create a new folder called context. And then inside here, I'm going to have context.js. So small c because it's context, okay? And then we can begin creating our context. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is I'm going to say import create context, and then we want to say import use state from React, okay? And then I want to create a cart context inside here. So cart context. I'm not really good at explaining context, okay? So I really do apologize for that. So we're going to create context inside here, create context, and then we want to say we're going to have 3 default values, right? The first one being is open, which is going to be false, obviously, because we want our cart to be closed by default. And then we're going to create our function called handle open cart, okay? And this is going to be our function like so. Oops. And then we're going to create another function called handle close cart like so, which is an arrow function, okay? And then we're going to say export const cart, oops, cart context provider like so. And then inside here we're going to destructure children, which is going to be the rest of our application. and you're going to see how it's going to be the rest of our application. Okay, and this is these are brackets, sorry. And then we can now say const is open. So basically what we did inside our app.js, so let me just copy it. So const is open, I'm going to grab it from here and I'm going to paste it inside here. And by the way, now we can actually remove these. We don't really need them. We can remove this, and then we can also go ahead into our components. We can remove this from here. Okay, I'm going to show you how we're going to fix it. And then is there anything else? Is open still inside here? What about set is open? Okay, so we can remove this as well. So this can just be something empty, and then we can remove this from here. Okay, so this is just if you don't want to deal with props. And then let's go ahead and do what's happening inside here. Let's just comment this out, and then let's go inside our single product page. We can remove this, and we can remove this function. Let's just comment it out, and then we can remove this too, like so. Okay, and we can begin working on our context, and notice that everything now breaks. Okay, so fetch products is open is not defined, so let's we're going to fix that. Okay, we're going to fix that the is open that is not defined is this inside here. Okay, and notice that in our context we already have it at the top. Okay, so we're going to fix that. Okay, so what we need to do now is we want to create our function to open the cat, right? So const handle open cat. So const handle open cat. This is going to be an inline function like so, where we're just going to say set cat into true. Set cat into true. It's that easy, right? And then const handle close cat. This is just going to say set cat into false. Okay, and then once we have this, then we want to create our context, a variable called context, where we want to destructure these three items. So 1, 2, and 3, which is our state value, which is this as well. Just so that it's easier to pass it into our context provider. Okay, so I'm going to destructure the is open, and you know what, the set is open as well, because we're going to be using it. Set is open, and then handle open cat and handle close cat, like so. And then once we have this, then we want to return something called cat context dot provider. Okay, so this is cat context dot provider. This is cat context provider. Okay, there's a difference, so please do make sure of that. And this is a component. Oops. Okay, so this cat context dot provider takes in a value, and the value is going to be the context that we have inside here. Okay, so that's it. That's why I destructured it instead of adding all of this inside here, and technically I don't think it would work. Okay, and then once we have this, then we want to render our children, which we got from here. Now remember that I said our children is going to be the rest of our application, and I'm going to show you why it's going to be the rest of our application in just a few moments. And then before we exit out of this, I want to say export default cat context, and export default cat context is what we have right at the top inside here. Okay, so we're going to save this, and then we're going to go into index.js, this one right here. Okay, and then we're going to import what was it? I keep on forgetting it. We're going to import this, which is a default import. Okay, remember it's export const, so it's a default it's a default export, sorry. So I'm going to say import cat context provider, like so. This comes from context / context, and then we're going to wrap our entire application into cat context provider, like so, and like so. Okay, now remember that our app component is basically the main parent of our application. Okay, now remember that in the context we said this is going to have, our provider is going to be rendering the children inside here. Now if you take the app and add it inside here, that's technically the children, and that's what I said. That's why I said that this is going to be the rest of our application. Okay, so we can save this, and then we can begin using the context into our application. So inside fetch products, I want to grab this, and then I want to also grab the function that controls this button. So the first thing that I'm going to do is right at the top, I'm going to import a function now called use context, which comes from React. And then below this, I'm going to say import cat context. from dot slash should be context / context, like so. And then I'm going to say const and destructure the is open, and I'm going to destructure the handle open cat. That's the function that I called. This is going to be equal to use context, and then we're going to pass in cat context, like so. And then now is open is already being used here, so this is fine, but the function now is going to be handle open cat. Okay, it is no longer an inline function because it is already an inline function inside here. Okay, so let's save this and let's see whether this works. Single product is open is not defined, of course. Set cat is not defined in context.js. What did I do? Oh, I said set cat. Oops. Oh my goodness. It's not set cat. I apologize for that. It's set is open. Set is open. I do apologize for that. I said set cat because that's the name of the value, that is the state value that I used while building out the other application. I do apologize for that. Sorry for that. So single product, yes, is open is not defined, so we can go into single product and we can just do the same thing. So we need to import use context from React, and then below this we're going to say import cat context, import cat context from context, and then we want to get the is open here. And does single product have the button to open the cat? It does, right? Okay, so the function is called handle open cat. Is going to be use context, and we want to pass in cat context, like so. And then is open is now defined. Now this function is no longer going to be this, it's going to be handle open cat. Fantastic. And okay, that reloads it, so we can click on this, and would you look at that, now our close button doesn't work technically. So let's fix that by going into our cart right inside here, and then we can remove this because we no longer need it. And then once again we go through the process of saying use context from React and import cat context from context, and then we can say const and destructure the handle close cat function. This is going to be use context, and we're going to pass in cat context, like so. And then this is no longer this function, but it is handle close cat. Okay, so let it reset. If not, you can try it out, and it's working. Would you look at this? And all of this is coming from context, and we can go back into our page inside here, and we can add to cat and close it as well. So that is, I've shown you two solutions where we can add your state bodies inside app.js and pass them down as props using what is called prop drilling, or you can add context to your application. I think adding context is a much better solution because, okay, you know what, you shouldn't really add context if your application is small enough. Okay, I just did it here because you know, it's better to have a big pool of knowledge than to get stuck on something. Okay, so yeah, I think that is going to be the rest of the application. But before I do that, I just want to deploy this to this page so that you can have the updated code that we actually use in this tutorial. Okay, so that there are not many differences in the code. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me say git add once this opens up. So git add, actually is this YT? Okay, so git add, sorry, let's go into the source. So cd source, and let's say git add context and git commit. Let's say context, git add app.js, let's say git commit, and say set up react router DOM. Let's say git add index.css, let's say git commit, let's say import tailwind plus false. Let's say git add index.js, index.js. Let's say git commit, and we're going to call this what did you do in index.js? We're going to say add context, and then let's cd into our components. So cd components, git add cat.js, git commit, let's say cat component, let's say git add error.js, git commit, let's say error page, git add fetch products.js, git commit fetch products, and let's say git add scroll to top.js and git commit, let's say scroll restoration, and then let's say git add single product.js, let's say git commit, and let's say single product page. Okay, and I've just remembered something where if you're going to deploy this to Netlify, what will happen is if you try to reload this on Netlify, let's say that you're going to go into this page, for example, if you try to reload it on Netlify, what will happen is that you're going to get an error page. So in order to fix that, let's say Netlify. We're going to create a new file called netlify.html, and then we're going to add some rules inside here. So redirects, we're going to be redirecting from asterisk, and we're going to be redirecting to /index.html with a status of 200, like so. And then I can cd out of this and out of this, and I can say git add netlify.html, let's say git commit -m, and you can say netlify redirects, and you can say git push. Okay, and then once you say git push, once this finishes, we can close this and we can reload this, and I can close this as well. Oops, never. Always remember to check this, because this is a warning in development, but it turns into an error when you try to deploy it. So let's fix that. Let's go into app.js and let's remove this from the top, because we don't really use it. There we go. And then once again, you can just say git add all and git commit, and you can say remove unused import. Let's say git push once again, and that pushes it to GitHub. Okay, so this should now work. Okay, so we don't have any errors, and if I check on GitHub, then I should see 15 seconds ago removed unused import. So now you can go ahead and deploy this to Netlify, and it is going to work correctly. And I don't really want to do that because I already have another similar project on Netlify, and it doesn't really make sense to have duplicates. Okay, so yeah, so if you've reached this far in the video, then please do subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. So bye bye.